Dear parents, teachers and students, Assalamu alaikum. I am Wasim Abbas, Manager Coordination from Askaria College Session. Hello Askarians, we are once again here to learn English live from England. So, if you want to lead in life, you need to be fluent in English. That is why our today's topic is I bought a new phone. So, we have our teacher Miss Donna, who is a native British teacher with us. Miss Donna, hand it over to you. You are a presenter now.
So I'm going to move on to the second part of the session. Okay, I will give it a few seconds for you to for your screens to change. We are again talking about the past simple, but this time we're talking about the negative. Okay, when something didn't happen. And this in some ways is easier because all verbs take the same form, whether they are regular or irregular. It doesn't matter. For negatives, it doesn't matter, okay, whether they're regular or irregular. So hopefully you can see my screen now. And to make the negative of verbs in the past, you use didn't plus the base form of the verb or the infinitive of the verb. You may have heard that word before. So we have on the screen, I didn't go to the shopping mall last week. You didn't send an SMS yesterday. You didn't have a meeting. She didn't buy a car. We didn't get a new phone. They didn't make a phone call. So each one of these verbs we know is irregular, but it doesn't matter if we are using the negative. The only verb that has to be in the past is the verb do, which itself is an irregular verb. It becomes didn't. Comes did in the positive, and in the negative it's didn't or did not. Did not contracted. But each verb has it's the basic format. Excuse me. So we're going to do some more listening now, and again we're going to listen and see what we hear. Which verb form do we hear? Do we hear didn't or do we hear don't? Do not is present, didn't or did not is past. What do we hear?
I didn't send an SMS message yesterday.
I didn't send an SMS message yesterday. I didn't send an SMS message yesterday. We're talking about the past, so it must be didn't. Okay, I'll wait for you to catch up. Number 2. Let's listen.
You didn't make a phone call.
Did we hear made or make? You didn't make a phone call. So this is a negative. So didn't was in the past. And when we use didn't, we use the basic form of the verb. So the answer is make. Okay, let's check that. The correct answer is make. The speaker says you didn't make a phone call. Okay. Didn't plus the base form of the verb. Okay. Another one. Again, we're going to listen. Which word or phrase do you hear? Which word or phrase do you hear? Didn't or don't? Let's listen.
We didn't go to the shopping mall 2 weeks ago.
We didn't go to the shopping mall 2 weeks ago. We didn't go to the shopping mall 2 weeks ago. Okay. So we're talking about 2 weeks ago and we're talking negative. So didn't in the past tense. Okay. We're on to number 4 now. Let's listen.
They didn't buy a new car.
They didn't buy a new car. They didn't buy a new car. So we had didn't. So that is the verb in the past to say that they did not. So didn't plus the base form of the verb. They didn't buy. They didn't buy a new car. Let's check that. And number 5, the last one. Do we hear didn't or do we hear doesn't? Didn't or doesn't?
She didn't have her computer for 5 years.
She didn't have her computer for 5 years. She didn't have her computer for 5 years. So this is, we're talking about a past tense and it's negative. So again, didn't is in the past. So didn't plus basic form of the verb. And so it's didn't. She didn't have her computer for 5 years. It's really important. This is quite a simple structure, but it's often we can forget it. Okay, we forget that we don't need to worry about irregular verbs when we're talking about the negative of the past. It's always the same. It's always didn't plus the verb. You don't need to change the verb structure. Okay. So very important to remember that. Don't make it more difficult yourselves. Again, you have the chance to practice and to record your voice. It's always, if you do that, do it somewhere private so you can really practice and then you can listen back and hear yourselves. I'm not going to do that now, so you don't need to hear me practicing. You're hearing me speaking enough. Okay, so I'm going to skip that. It's something that I would encourage all of you to do if you're using the app. Okay, so we've looked at the language now in quite a lot of detail. So we are going to do some practice now. So hopefully you can see the screen. I didn't make a phone call yesterday is your sentence. Is the grammar of that sentence, is it right or is it wrong? I didn't make a phone call yesterday. Think about what we've just talked about. In the past, we have didn't plus the verb, and make is the basic form of the verb. So that is right. Let's check. You use didn't with the base form of the verb to make negative sentences in the past. Number 2. You don't have a meeting 3 weeks ago. You don't have a meeting 3 weeks ago. What do you think? Is that correct or is it incorrect? Is it right or wrong? You don't have a meeting 3 weeks ago. So we know that we're talking about a time in the past with ago, but don't. Is that the past tense? No, it's the present tense. So you don't have a meeting 3 weeks ago is wrong, because you're mixing the tenses. Don't is present and 3 weeks ago is talking about the past. So that is wrong. And let's check that. Yes, there's confirmation. You use didn't with the base form of the verb to make negative sentences in the past. They didn't buy a car in 2014. They didn't buy a car in 2014. Is that right or is it wrong? Well, we're talking about in 2014. So we're talking about a time in the past. And didn't is the past. So they didn't buy a car in 2014. I think we can say that that is right. Okay, number 4. Hopefully you can see it on your screen now. She didn't went to the shopping mall last weekend. She didn't went to the shopping mall last weekend. Is that right or is that wrong? She didn't went. Here we've got both verbs are in the past tense, aren't they? And we don't need to do that. Only didn't needs to be in the past tense. So we need the basic form, the present form of the verb went. And what's that? The present of went is, hopefully you're all shouting at me, is go. Okay, so the correct sentence would be, she didn't go to the shopping mall last weekend. So what we have on screen is wrong. Okay, next one. We didn't send an SMS message last night. We didn't send an SMS message last night. So, is that right? Yes, it's right. And why is it right? Yes, yet again, we have didn't in the past, and we have the base form of the verb send. Okay, in the past, send is sent. The D changes to a T. But here we've got the basic form send, so we didn't send an SMS message last night. So that's right. And again, we have the rule confirmed again for you. Okay, now this gets a little more tricky. You're not deciding whether things are right or wrong. You have to say which word goes in the gap. You have to complete the sentence. A very common exercise in language classes. So hopefully you can all see the screen now. So we have on the screen, he didn't blank an SMS message last night. So what word goes in the gap? Is it sent, sends, or send? What's our rule about negative in the past? We know by now, I hope, that negative in the past is didn't or did not for the longer form, plus the base form of the verb. So which of these is the base form of the verb? It's send. He didn't send an SMS message last night. He didn't send an SMS message last night. There we go. The next one. She blank a meeting last night. She have a meeting, she has a meeting, or she had a meeting. So we have last night. So we know we're talking about a time in the past. So which of these is the past? Have, has, or had? It's had. Well done if you got that. Both have and has are the same verb, but they're both present form. I have, he, she, it has. And that's one of the good things about the irregular past tense, or any past tense, is the verb doesn't change for the subject. It stays the same. So in the present, the verb form changes according to who we're talking about. But in the past, it doesn't. It stays the same. Whether it's I, you, he, she, they, we, the verb form is the same, whether it's regular or irregular. So you don't have to remember different forms for the past. Number 3. We blank get a new car in 2010. What goes in the gap? We blank get a new car in 2010. So in 2010, we're talking about the past. Obviously, we're in 2021 now. So in 2010, we something get a new car. We're talking about the past. Our choices are all negative. Don't, doesn't, didn't. What fills the gap? It's obviously didn't. We didn't get a new car in 2010. Again, the other options on your screen, don't and doesn't, are both present tense. They're both present. They don't apply here because we're talking about a time in the past. So let's check that. That's correct. Okay, the next one, you didn't a new phone last month. You didn't blank a new phone last month. Again, we've got a negative in the past. We're talking about last month. So is it get, gets, or got? We know with the negative, we use didn't in the past, and then we use the basic form of the verb. And the basic form is get. You didn't get a new phone last month. Yes. They blank a phone call 2 days ago. They blank a phone call 2 days ago. What goes in the gap? Makes, made, or make. Okay, we're talking about 2 days ago, so we're talking about the past, and so the past is of make is made. It's one of those irregular verbs, but a very useful verb, so important that you remember it. Next one, number 6. I blank to the shopping mall yesterday. I blank to the shopping mall yesterday. Went, goes, go. Okay, we're talking about yesterday. So again, obviously all of these are past. So which is the past tense verb on your screen? The past of go is went. Again, another very useful verb to remember. Go and went are so different. Don't ask me why went is the past of go. Who knows? How the language has developed. Okay? You just need to remember it. So let's check. I went to the shopping mall yesterday. Yes, is correct. Of course. Okay, let's continue. And to finish off the practice here, we're going back to the email that we read at the beginning. But this time, we have some gaps. We have some gaps on the screen and you have to fill the gaps. Okay. Hopefully you can see this now. Hopefully you can all see the screen. So let's have a look then. We've got number 1. Well, let's read it from the top. Remember, it's hi Dave and how are you? Okay. So I blank a new phone last week. I blank a new phone last week. And again, you have a choice. Okay, you have buys or buy or bought. So which one is it? Which one is it? Buys, buy, bought. Well, we're talking about last week, and what is the past tense for buy? Okay. It's bought. Okay, again, one of those verbs that is very different in the past to the present. Okay, so it's bought. I buy today, I bought yesterday. Number 2, what is it? I blank it 5 days. Blank. So in this sentence, we've got 2 gaps to fill. So we know we're talking about something that happened last week. So again, it's a past tense and it's got. I got it 5 days. What was the word we used in the sentence? Last, ago, or for. All of these are markers to talk about the past. And which one goes here? Do you remember? It's ago. Okay, I got it 5 days ago. I had my old phone, gap 3 years. I had my old phone, ago, for, or in. We're talking about a time period in the past. The answer is for 3 years. I used it a lot, but it was too small for me. I mostly gap phone calls and sent SMS messages on it. I mostly make, made, or makes. What's the answer? We're looking for a past tense verb, and the only past tense there is made. Okay. I made phone calls and sent SMS messages on it. It didn't have a good camera. Okay, so we have a negative there. It didn't have. So we have in its basic form. So there's the email reconstructed. Okay, we've rewritten the email and filled in all the gaps, the language. And it's just going to tell us which ones we got right. So, I bought, confirmation it's correct. And we are back there to the main screen. So if you were doing this at home, you were using the app yourselves, you can see at the bottom that you can restart it. And this is the same for every lesson. So if there's something you're still not sure about when you've gone through it, then you can go back and redo the lesson as many times as you need. And you can see here, we're not going to do it today, but we have a test. And you start the test and it tests you on what you've been practicing earlier in the lesson. To get a pass score for the app, you need to score 70%. And once you have 70%, then the lesson will show as completed in your library of lessons. Okay, I hope you're all able to follow that. Okay, I'm going to stop sharing my screen now. I hope you were all able to follow that as well. I think there might have been a delay on the screens changing, but hopefully you caught up and hopefully you all learned something. For some of you, that grammar may have been quite easy, and for some of you, it may not have been. If you were doing a lesson for real, if this was a class that you were joining, then the class would be tailored around your needs. Okay, so don't worry if you think this was too easy or too difficult. This is just to show you an example of the types of materials that we have. Okay, I will stop there and I will hand back to our hosts to finish off. Thank you very much for your time.
Once again, thank you very much, Miss Donna. It was another impressive lecture and we are really grateful to you that you spared the time for us, and I am also thankful to the team of Learn English 365 and the participants. I can see a great number of participants who attended the lecture today, and I'm thankful to the teachers and the principals who made this possible. So thank you very much. Thanks a lot, everyone. Take care of yourself. Bye bye.